Hi, and welcome to my channel. Are you learning English? Great! Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started. Imagine you are walking down the street and suddenly see a friend. You instantly recognize their face and know how they are feeling. This happens very quickly and without much effort. This is like fast thinking. Now think about solving a difficult maths problem. You need to focus, think step by step, and it takes time and energy. This is like slow thinking. In this book, we will talk about these two ways of thinking. We call them System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, automatic, and intuitive. It works without us really thinking about it. System 2 is slower, more deliberate, and needs effort and concentration. Both systems are important, and they help us make judgments and decisions every day. This book is about how we think and how we make choices. It is divided into 5 parts. First, we will look at System 1 and System 2 and how they work. Then we will explore thinking shortcuts that our minds use, called heuristics. These shortcuts can be helpful, but they can also lead to mistakes, which we call biases. We will also talk about why we are often too confident in our judgments, even when we are wrong. Next, we will discuss how we make choices, especially when there are risks involved. Finally, we will look at how we experience happiness and well-being in different ways. The main goal of this book is to help you understand how your mind works. By learning about System 1 and System 2 and about common thinking mistakes, you can become better at making decisions. You will learn to recognize when you might be using System 1 too much, and when you need to slow down and use System 2 to think more carefully. This book will give you a new way to talk about and understand why we make the choices we do, and how we can make better ones. We want to give you the words to understand the errors we all make in thinking, so you can see them in yourself and in the world around you. 2 ways to think. We think in 2 main ways. Let's call them System 1 and System 2. System 1 is like fast thinking. It works automatically and very quickly, without much effort. You don't have to try to use System 1. It just works. It's like when you know that a picture shows an angry face, or when you know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. System 1 is good for quick decisions and feelings. It is often based on what feels right or what you know quickly, without thinking hard. System 1 is often emotional and works without you really noticing. Here are some examples of what System 1 does. Understand simple sentences. Know that a big dog can be dangerous. Finish the sentence. Bread and... You think butter. Drive a car on a road you know well. System 2 is slow thinking. It needs effort and attention. When you do something that is hard for your brain, like a difficult maths problem or learning a new skill, you are using System 2. System 2 is used for complicated tasks and logical thinking. It's slow and takes concentration. You feel like you are working when you use System 2. Here are some examples of when you use System 2. Learning a new language, solving a difficult puzzle, concentrating on something in a noisy place, comparing 2 different jobs to decide which is better. System 1 and System 2 work together. System 1 is always giving ideas and feelings to System 2. System 2 then decides if it agrees with System 1 or if it needs to think more carefully. Most of the time, System 2 just accepts what System 1 says. But when something is difficult or new, System 2 works harder to understand and solve the problem. Easy and hard thinking. Sometimes, thinking feels easy. This is called cognitive ease. When things are easy to understand, you are more likely to trust them and feel good about them. Things that make thinking easy include seeing something often, clear and simple writing, being in a good mood. Sometimes, thinking feels hard. This is called cognitive strain. When you feel strain, you are more careful and think harder. This can be helpful for solving problems, but it can also make you feel less happy and less creative. System 1 gives you quick feelings and impressions. These feelings can be very strong, but they are not always based on careful thought. System 2 is used for careful reasoning. It can check the quick feelings from System 1. Sometimes, your first feeling is right, and sometimes, you need to use System 2 to think more slowly and logically to make a good decision. Both ways of thinking are important, but it is good to know when to use each one. 3. Easy thinking. Our System 1 likes things to be easy. When things are easy to understand, we feel good. This feeling is called cognitive ease. When you experience cognitive ease, things seem to be going well. You are likely in a good mood. You trust your instincts, and you feel comfortable with the situation. Cognitive ease happens when System 1 processes information smoothly. Think about seeing a word you know well. It's easy to read, right? That's cognitive ease. But if the word is in a difficult font or far away, reading it takes more effort, and you feel cognitive strain. One thing that makes thinking easy is priming. Remember from the last chapter how the words banana and vomit are linked in your mind? This linking is called associative activation. When one idea is activated, related ideas are also activated. If you see the word eat, it makes words like soup easier to think of. This is priming, and it makes thinking feel easier. Cognitive ease has a big impact on what we believe. When something is easy to understand, we are more likely to believe it's true. This can be a problem. If something is repeated many times, it becomes familiar, and familiarity creates cognitive ease, even if something is not true. If it's repeated enough, we can start to believe it. This is called the illusion of truth. Things that are easy to read, easy to understand, and easy to remember often seem more true, even if they are not. Think about advertisements. They often use simple words, clear pictures, and repeat their message again and again. This is because fluency, repetition, and clear displays increase cognitive ease. And when something feels easy, we are more likely to accept it. For example, if a statement is printed in a clear, easy-to-read font, people are more likely to believe it is true than if it is printed in a blurry font. Cognitive ease is linked to good feelings. When thinking is easy, we feel happy and confident. And when we feel good, our intuition and creativity are also affected. Good feelings make System 1 work better. We become more intuitive and creative when we are in a good mood, because cognitive ease tells us that things are safe, and we can relax our system to control a little. Easy thinking, therefore, is not just about understanding things quickly. It also influences our feelings, beliefs, and even our creativity. 4. Quick answers. Our System 1 is very fast. It often gives us answers quickly, without us thinking too much. This speed is very helpful in many situations, especially when we need to react fast. But this quick thinking can also make mistakes sometimes, because System 1 uses shortcuts to give us answers quickly. System 1 is like a machine that jumps to conclusions, and it does this very often. One way System 1 does this is by ignoring things that are not clear. When we see something that is not obvious or has many possible meanings, System 1 often picks the easiest answer and does not think about other possibilities. It does not like confusion, so it tries to make things simple and clear, even when things are actually complex. For example, if you see a friend looking angry, System 1 might quickly decide they are angry at you, without thinking if there could be other reasons for their anger. It ignores the fact that the situation might be unclear, or that there might be other explanations for your friend's mood, choosing the simplest and fastest explanation. System 1 also does not like doubt. When it finds an answer that seems right or makes sense quickly, it stops looking for other answers and does not doubt itself. This can lead to something called confirmation bias, which is a common mistake in thinking. This means that System 1 likes to find information that agrees with what it already thinks, and ignores information that does not agree. If System 1 thinks your friend is angry at you, it will notice all the things your friend does that look angry, and will not notice the things that show your friend is not angry. It only sees what confirms its initial quick answer. Another quick answer System 1 gives is called the halo effect. This happens when we like one thing about a person, and then we think we will like everything about that person. For example, if you think someone is beautiful, you might also quickly think they are clever and kind, even if you do not know if this is true. System 1 makes a quick jump from beautiful to good person because it is easy and fast, creating a halo of good qualities around the person. This shortcut can lead to wrong impressions of people. System 1 also works with something called WYSIAT, which means what you see is all there is. This is a very important idea to understand System 1. System 1 thinks that the information it has right now is the only information that is important and exists. It does not think about the information it is missing or does not know. This way of thinking can make us very sure of our answers, even when we do not know much about the situation. For example, if you only read one short story about a country, System 1 might make you feel like you know a lot about that country and its people, even if the story did not tell you very much and missed many important facts. Because System 1 jumps to quick answers and uses shortcuts, we can become too sure of ourselves and our judgments. We can think we know more than we really do, and we can have too much confidence. We can make decisions based on very little information, and we can make mistakes because we do not see the whole picture or consider other possibilities. System 1 gives us quick answers, but these answers are not always the best answers, and sometimes can lead us to wrong conclusions. Sometimes, we need to slow down and use System 2 to think more carefully and to check if our quick answers are correct, especially when the decision is important. 5. Rules of thumb. Sometimes, we need to make quick decisions. Imagine you are crossing a busy road. You don't have time to think slowly and carefully about every car. You need to decide fast. To help us make quick decisions, our brains use rules of thumb. We call these rules heuristics. They are like mental shortcuts. One common rule of thumb is called the availability heuristic. This means we often think something is common if we can easily remember examples of it. For example, think about sharks. Are shark attacks common? Many people are afraid of sharks. This is because when shark attacks happen, they are big news. We see them on TV, read about them in newspapers, and hear people talking about them. Because these stories are easy to remember, they are available in our memory, we might think shark attacks happen more often than they really do. In reality, shark attacks are very rare. Let's take another example. Imagine you are asked, are there more words that start with the letter K or have K as the third letter? Many people think there are more words starting with K. This is because it's easier to think of words that begin with K, like king, kite, kangaroo. It's harder to quickly think of words with K in the third place. So, because words starting with K are more available to your mind, you might guess there are more of them, even if this is not true. The availability heuristic can lead to mistakes, because what is easy to remember is not always what is most common. News and media often show us things that are unusual or exciting, like accidents or disasters. This makes these events seem more common than they are. We might worry too much about things we see on the news, and not enough about things that are actually more likely to happen in our daily lives. The affect heuristic. Affect is a word for feelings or emotions. The affect heuristic means we often make decisions based on how we feel about something, rather than thinking carefully about the facts. For example, if you feel good about something, you might think it is safe and has many benefits. If you feel bad about something, you might think it is dangerous and has few benefits. Imagine you see a new food. If it looks and smells good, you might think it tastes good and is healthy. Your good feeling, affect, guides your decision to try it. Emotions play a big part in our decisions, often without us realizing it. We use these rules of thumb to make quick decisions, and sometimes they are helpful. But it's important to remember that these shortcuts can also lead to mistakes. Being aware of rules of thumb like the availability and affect heuristics can help us understand why we think and decide the way we do. 6. Small numbers. Imagine you hear about two towns. In town A, many people have cancer. In town B, very few people have cancer. You might think that something in town A causes cancer, like bad water or air. And maybe town B has very clean air and water, which protects people. But what if I told you that town A and town B are not special? What if these towns are just small towns? In small towns, Strange things happen sometimes just by chance. Think about flipping a coin. If you flip a coin many times, about half will be heads and half will be tails. This is the law of big numbers. But if you only flip a coin a few times, maybe you get heads many times in a row, or tails many times in a row. It is just luck. Small numbers are different from big numbers. When we look at small groups of things, we can see patterns that are not really there. We think these patterns mean something, but often they are just random. This is called the law of small numbers. People often forget about this law. For example, imagine you see a small village where many clever students come from. You might think the school in this village is very good, but maybe it is just luck. In a small school, just by chance, a few clever students might be there at the same time. It does not mean the school is special. This idea is important for making good choices. Think about research. If a scientist studies a small group of people and finds something interesting, it might be luck. To be sure, the scientist needs to study a bigger group. If the same thing happens in a big group, then it is more likely to be real and not just chance. It is also important for money. Imagine someone tells you about a new company. In the last few months, this company has made a lot of money. You might think it is a very good company to invest in, but maybe it is just luck. A few months is a short time in business. To know if a company is really good, you need to look at what happens over many years, not just a few months. When we forget the law of small numbers, we can make mistakes. We see patterns where there are none. We believe in things too quickly when we only see a small amount of information. It is important to remember that in small numbers, randomness plays a big role. Do not jump to conclusions too fast. When you see a pattern in a small group, it might just be chance, not a real rule. 7. Losses and gains. People usually do not like to lose things. This is a simple idea, but it is very important. When we make choices, we often think more about what we could lose than what we could gain. This idea is called loss aversion. Imagine you find $10 on the street. You will be happy. It is a gain. Now imagine you lose $10 that you already had. You will be sad. It is a loss. Many studies show that the sadness from losing $10 is stronger than the happiness from finding $10. Losses feel bigger than gains, even when they are the same amount. Loss aversion affects our choices. Think about buying a new phone. The shop assistant says, if you pay with a credit card, it will cost you $105. If you pay with cash, it will be $100. This is the same as saying, if you pay with cash, you get a $5 discount. But people are more likely to pay cash to avoid a credit card surcharge of $5 than to get a cash discount of $5, even though it is the same money. The way it is described changes how we feel about it. This is called framing. Framing is very important. If someone says, this medicine has a 90% chance of success, it sounds good. If someone says, this medicine has a 10% chance of failure, it sounds bad. But it is the same information. How information is presented or framed can change our minds. Loss aversion also helps us understand something called the endowment effect. Imagine you have a nice coffee cup. Someone asks if you want to sell it. How much money would you want for it? Imagine you do not have the coffee cup. Someone asks how much you would pay to buy it. Most people want much more money to sell the cup they own than they would pay to buy the same cup if they did not have it. Because you own it, selling it feels like a loss, and losses are painful. Buying it is a gain, which feels less strong than the pain of a loss. Loss aversion is a strong feeling. People often make choices to avoid losses, even if it means missing out on gains. For example, some people keep losing stocks for too long because selling them means accepting a loss. They hope the stock price will go up again, even if it is not likely. Avoiding the feeling of loss becomes more important than making a good decision for the future. Understanding losses and gains helps us understand why we make some choices. We are not always logical. Our feelings about losses and gains are powerful and can change how we decide things. Being aware of loss aversion and framing can help us make better choices in our lives, especially when money is involved. 8. Our two selves. Have you ever thought about how you remember your holidays? You might remember the best parts, like a beautiful sunset, or the worst parts, like when you felt sick. But do you remember every single moment? Probably not. We actually have two parts to ourselves when it comes to experiences and memories. Let's call them the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self is the one who lives in the moment. It feels pain, pleasure, sadness, happiness, all in real time. Think about eating a tasty piece of chocolate. Your experiencing self is enjoying every flavor as you eat it. This self lives now and only knows the present. The remembering self is different. It is like the storyteller in our head. It looks back at our experiences and creates stories about them. This self is the one that keeps score and makes decisions based on what it remembers. When you think back about your holiday, it's your remembering self that is talking. These two selves often see things differently. Imagine you had a very long holiday that was mostly good, but had a bad ending. For example, maybe the last day was very tiring and stressful because of travel problems. Your experiencing self lived through both the good and the bad parts, but your remembering self might focus more on the bad ending. This is because our memory often works with the peak-end rule. This rule means that our remembering self really cares about two things: the most intense part of an experience, the peak; how it ended, the end. It does not pay much attention to how long the experience lasted. This is called duration neglect. Let's say you had two holidays. Holiday A was amazing for 6 days, but the last day was just okay. Holiday B was good every day for 7 days, but not as amazing as the best days of Holiday A. When you think back, your remembering self might like Holiday A better because of the really amazing peak moments, even though Holiday B was good for longer. Your experiencing self, however, actually had more total good moments in Holiday B because it lasted longer. This difference between our two selves is important for our well-being. The experiencing self wants to enjoy life now, in the present. The remembering self wants good memories and good stories to tell about our lives. Sometimes what makes our experiencing self happy is not the same as what makes our remembering self happy. For example, you might do something painful now, like study hard for an exam, because your remembering self knows it will be good for your future story and happiness later. Understanding these two selves helps us to think about what is truly important for our happiness. Should we focus on making each moment enjoyable for our experiencing self? Or should we focus on creating good memories for our remembering self? There is no easy answer. But knowing about our two selves can help us make better decisions about what we do and how we live our lives, and to understand why we sometimes choose things that, in the moment, might not be so enjoyable, but create a better story of our life in the long run. Hey there, just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.